This is your Barbados Today Morning News Update for Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019. Thanks for joining us. I'm Carol Williams. We begin with news that Barbados has pledged to urgently assist the Bahamas following the devastation caused by Hurricane Durian. In a statement issued last evening, Prime Minister Mia Mottley said she has been in contact with the government of the island chain and is deeply saddened by the tremendous devastation and suffering. She says Barbados is ready to dispatch personnel and equipment from the Defense Force and the Coast Guard as soon as the all clear is given and once there is clarity as to the needs of the people of the Bahamas. In the case of Barbados, she says the country was fortunate to have been spared the wrath of Durian, but is no less touched by what has occurred in the Bahamas than if it had taken place right here. The Prime Minister has thanked the Barbados Light and Power Company, which is mobilizing to send crews and equipment to the Bahamas to assist with the restoration of power, and other members of the local private sector who've pledged their support. She urged other members of the business community and civil society to join the effort. And as Hurricane Durian continues to ravage the Bahamas, the lead regional agency for disaster management is telling residents they can never be too prepared. The advice by Executive Director of CDEMA, Ronald Jackson, came as Bahamian authorities reported that at least 5 persons have been killed. More than 20 others were injured and airlifted with the aid of a U.S. mission that's now on the ground. CDEMA has already deployed 2 rapid needs assessment teams. Jackson says there are several lessons for the entire region.
It pays for us to pay attention. Key lessons: build properly, understand the risk. There was an image out of Abaco where you saw one house that was on stilts versus a number of others that were built flat to the ground. The difference is the one on stilt had another story that they could retreat to if they didn't evacuate off island, while the others were flooded to the roof. So build properly. The whole issue around the roofing and how we design a roof. So it's not a question of whether we can build houses that can withstand Category 5. We can, but we have to follow the appropriate standards, the appropriate design parameters. Unfortunately, even if you can build to sustain Category 5, it's always going to be difficult to sustain 24 hours to 48 hours of those types of wind speeds. After a while, it does weaken the infrastructure.
The CDEMA official expects the impact to be worse than what occurred in Dominica by Hurricanes Irma and Maria.
We saw what a Category 5 hurricane did to Dominica and to the British Virgin Islands, and that was Irma and Maria. So we're looking at a situation where we have a Category 5, very powerful storm, a large storm, this time sitting for much longer than Irma and Maria sat on these countries. So it is safe to say that for those 2 islands, the impact could be seen as catastrophic.
Focusing now on some of what has been occurring in the Bahamas, there have been desperate pleas for help, including from doctors and nurses at a health facility that was among the many flooded. The Rand Memorial Hospital, located in Grand Bahama, housed 50 patients, many of whom were in dire need of medical care. Attempts were made to evacuate several pregnant women who were going into labor, but they couldn't be rescued. Health Minister Dr. Durian confirms that some areas were inundated with water.
The Rand has been compromised with water intrusion, and in some areas the depth of the water is about 2 feet, in other areas it's less. We have been in touch with the individuals still in the hospital, and we have considered the various options. What we are trying to do is to look at what are the safest options and what are realistic options. There's nobody who can go and rescue them right now.
In other news, the Barbados Vagrants and Homeless Society is on a mission to raise $100,000. The funds are for retrofitting a multi-purpose shelter. Society President Kimar Safri says while a number of businesses are assisting, more help is needed to facilitate the opening of the shelter by October 21st.
We have to retrofit bathrooms. We have to make an emergency exit into the building which lead down to the ground floor. We still have to look at painting the building, but Barbados has that covered, so just letting you know. But that still has to be done a part of the work. We still have major, the glass is around, so we have to put in wrought iron throughout the entire building. So there's still a few work, air intake, AC has to get into certain parts of the building, air intake has to be a part of the building as well, so that when you're here, you can feel air coming through the entire building. So there's a number of work, and we're asking Barbadians if they can pledge. I know many times when persons do think about the homeless, they may think that is clothing and food stuff that is the only thing that is needed. But to this point, yes, that is key in helping homeless persons, but we need to get this building up. We need to get it to a particular way. We have to pass all the regulations within a short space of time.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
And finally, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson yesterday warned lawmakers that he would seek an election if they tied his hands on Brexit. Johnson's promise to take the UK out of the EU on October 31st, with or without a divorce deal, has propelled the nation towards a constitutional crisis and confrontation with the bloc's 27 other members. More in this Reuters TV report.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Monday ruled out ever asking the European Union to delay Brexit, making an implicit warning that he would be forced to call a general election if his hands were tied by Parliament.
I want everybody to know there are no circumstances in which I will ask Brussels to delay. We're leaving on the 31st of October, no ifs or buts.
An alliance of opposition lawmakers and rebels from within Johnson's own Conservatives are seeking to take control of Parliament in order to pass legislation that would force Johnson to seek a 3-month delay to prevent a no-deal Brexit. Speaking over the sound of protesters shouting "Stop the coup," Johnson said that such a delay would chop the legs out from under the UK's negotiating position.
Let's let our negotiators get on with their work without that sword of Damocles over their necks.
A senior government source said on Monday that Johnson will move to call an election on October the 14th if he's defeated in Parliament.
We need a general election.
Opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn certainly wants one.
An election is the democratic way forward. To give the people the choice between the two very different directions of our country.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook. And sign up for breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Carol Williams. Have a good day.